Today's sponsor of the podcast is our friends 13. It is a high quality clothing line made by high quality people. From their t-shirts, their hoodies, their sweatpants, everything fits really nicely. They've been a longtime supporter of the show, and I love everything that they put out. I'm telling you, the people behind the scenes are just wonderful people. So you gotta go support them. Check out their website at thur13en.com. Pick yourself up a t-shirt, maybe a hoodie. Just make sure you use the code word CoryCast at checkout, and you're gonna save yourself a little bit of money. Today's guest is my friend Lauren Sutliffe, longtime friend of my wife, and should have been on this podcast a lot sooner. Lauren has had quite the journey into becoming a studio owner of Infinity Dance Academy. She has loved dance since she was just a little girl, and her passion led her into pursuing that in college. And after college, she had the opportunity to take on and start her own business. So here she is 7 years later running Infinity Dance Academy, a successful dance studio that has jazz, lyrical, tumbling, ballet. I love Lauren's open-mindedness to her business, her open-minded approach to her business. She's always looking for ways to adjust and always looking for ways to help other people. Lauren's super personable, and she is just like a real joy to talk to. Not only is she running the dance studio, but she also has her side gig where she's decorating for all these different parties. I'm telling you, Lauren is a hustler. Was working 3 jobs at one point. She is just a super hard worker and all around just a really nice human being. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, do me a favor, subscribe, like the video, comment below. These are all natural things that you can do to help this podcast grow. If you are in the Beeville area, make sure you check out the Infinity Dance Academy. It is a wonderful studio that welcomes all kinds of people into dancing and share their love of creative dancing, no matter what your style is, jazz, lyrical, whatever, they have it ready for you. So without further ado, here is my friend, our new guest, Lauren Sutliffe. How long have you owned the studio?
So this is year 7.
Year 7.
Year 7. But it does not feel like it.
7 years. That's wild. Because I remember when you first got the studio. It was 7 years ago?
7 years now. I know. I feel like it just started. But then I'm like, wow, it's been so long.
And how long have you been dancing for?
26 years.
Right.
So I started when I was 3.
Whoa.
3. Yeah.
And that has been the one constant in your entire life.
That's all I ever did.
What was it about dance that made you want to stick with it?
My parents put me in to start. And then my grandma was super supportive of it. She paid for a lot of my dancing and all of that. I wanted to try sports, but my mom was very like, boys play sports, you're going to stick to dance.
Right.
So it kept me in it, but then I ended up loving it anyway. So it's not like a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I just loved it.
Well, and with dance, what was eye-opening for me since I was with Brittany is there's like all of these different kinds of dance, right? There's like jazz and lyrical and ballet, tumbling. If I didn't mention tumbling, Brittany would have killed me. Right. Which ones have you gravitated towards the most?
So growing up, I was more like the lyrical dancer, slower, all about feelings. As a teacher, I think it's different. Now that I'm teaching, I prefer to teach different styles.
Why is that? Just because it's refreshing?
I think so. Like having a variety. If I am teaching too much of the same thing, you kind of get in a funk and you're like, okay, now I'm doing too much of the same stuff with the girls. You're not changing it up. Right. So I like to have the different variety. To
kind of do something different almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, after 26 years, right?
Yeah.
Like I would imagine you having the variety probably keeps you like still
going.
vested in it, right?
Even like age groups. Like I don't think I would want to stick to one age group because you learn something from each of the age groups working with them. So.
And what's the primarily age group that you work with?
So I have to do it all.
You're doing it all.
But I'm the only one at the studio that will do like 6 and under.
Okay.
So I have like
they're a handful.
5 classes a week of just 6 and under.
How do you keep them focused? That's got to be really hard, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the past 7 years, each year you have to come up with new tools. So the biggest thing to keep them like in a spot focused is we have like these dots. So they get a colored dot each week that they have to stand on. And I find that circles work better because then they're watching you and looking at you rather than like a big straight line.
Right.
It just feels more like inviting. So circles, and then like follow along songs. You have to keep class moving. Any downtime, and then they're like all over the place.
Typically, like martial arts class are like an hour long, but dancing's like what, 30 minutes?
Most are 30. The little kids, we do an hour, but they do different styles in the hour. So you're not doing the same thing for the whole hour.
Which do you prefer to teach? Like, what's your jam?
That's a tough one.
If you could only have one class to teach.
That is a hard one. Oh, goodness. I think I would have to go older kids, like 16 to 18, and in like an advanced level class.
Is it because there's less hand-holding and you get more out of it?
I think I gain more on top of it because then, like, I can use them to also learn more for me and, like, create new moves. We can play a little bit more and, like, yeah, it's more creative.
How do you, like, you're saying, like, learn and try new moves. Like, how do you find new moves to try? Like, how do you reinvent, like, how do you invent a new dance move or something?
A big tool that I like is improv dancing. So basically you just throw on a song and you make the kids dance and they just do whatever they want. Sometimes I'll videotape it and then I go back through and I'm like, okay, I like what this kind of looks like. How can we like make it more specific and more of a move?
That's
so you're
cool.
using like what's natural to them in their body and making it into
A part of the dance?
Yeah.
Interesting. And when you were younger and you had just started, did you have dreams of owning your own studio?
I did.
Really?
So literally at 7 years old, I knew like this is what I want to do.
Wow.
So it was just always in my head. Everyone around me knew that's where I was going. That's what I wanted to do.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And the basically like the timeline that led you up to that is you were dancing all the way until you were 17, 18. And then that's the time where typically you stop dancing right after you graduate high school, right?
Right. So I decided my major was going to be dance, so I could keep dancing.
That's
in
cool.
School. So
What school?
I went to Brockport. I majored in dance, and then I did the minor in business.
That was smart.
Yes.
Okay. What did you learn the most when you were at Brockport?
I actually feel like I just learned more about myself.
Oh, yeah.
And like more connection to my body and like dancing, how it works, how it moves, like why it does certain things. So definitely just finding myself more.
I'm like such a dummy when it comes to dancing and movement.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's a different art form, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when you're saying like improv and just trying to figure it out, I'm blown away that you're able to like dissect what's useful to each body type.
Right.
Because martial arts is almost the same way. As like how I would train a really tall, lengthy fighter is very different than someone like me who's short and has no reach. Do you know?
Yep.
So it's interesting that the two kind of like correlate. Did you pick up like any business techniques when you were at Brockport?
The honest answer is no. I thought it was the most useless degree ever.
That's fair. Okay, why?
To me, I felt like they were just taking like basic knowledge that you should know, like financing, budgeting, and just putting fancy terms to it. And like making it seem harder than it was. So I feel like I did not use anything that I learned.
Well, at least you used like the dance part.
Yeah.
Right? Like you still learned some cool techniques.
I am so glad I did that. Like it's worth the student debt to have that degree that people thought was useless. They were like, why are you doing that? But I feel like I learned so much that I can bring to my students now. So I love that I did that.
And outside of like that education, how else are you trying to learn new dance moves or like educate yourself on how to stay up to date with stuff?
social media is like the best tool.
That's
So like
king.
constantly watching like reels of professional dancers around here. I love watching like Canadian dancers. They're just like
Oh, why Canadian?
amazing.
There's a different style.
I think the programs that they're able to do are just a lot more strict than like around here. So the dancers are just amazing.
Top notch because it's a little bit more strict.
Yeah.
Do you lean towards a strict teaching style?
Yes and no. So like the studio I grew up in was super like, we're going to have fun. We're family oriented. It's about loving what we do and friendships. And that's why I danced there. Like I loved that. But I wanted a balance where I'm taking that environment and then we're going to be a little bit more strict about what we're learning. And we're still going to create like a well-balanced dancer. So like I want to have the opportunities for girls that may want to be professional. But also, if you're just here for fun, I want that for you too.
That's a tough balance, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, how do you, like, bring something to the table for both of those people? And I get other than just, like, different dance styles and techniques, right? And just
Right.
trying to be there when they need something.
It's helpful. So we do 2 programs. We'll have the recreational program and then the competitive program. So rec kids are there maybe a couple hours a week, just having fun, hanging out with their friends, learning to dance, nothing serious. And then our competitive program, depending on your age and how much you really want to be involved. So it's flexible. You could be there for a couple hours or like 8 hours a week training. So it all depends.
Is owning this business what you thought it was going to be as a 7-year-old kid?
Mostly yes.
Okay.
The
Dealing with a flood, not so much.
all of the stuff that has come up, not what I expected
Yeah.
to happen. Dealing with the parents, I think, is just the hardest part. Like, if I could just be with kids 24/7 and
Yeah.
work with that, that would be the best.
Because it's protective, and with the kids, it's one-on-one. You get more time with them too.
Yes.
You know, and that's where you really get to shine. When you basically started this business, you took it over from, wow, I can't remember Pam's school name. She's gonna PMA.
Yeah. Always dancing.
Always Dancing. PMA was where Brittany worked. Always Dancing. Always Dancing. That's what it was. It's been so long, 7 years. I couldn't even
7
remember the name.
years.
When you took it over, how did you tweak it so it was more Lauren facing?
Yeah. So I think I came in and scared a lot of people
Yeah.
to start.
Well, anything new is going to scare people, right?
And it definitely wasn't what I expected. I always thought I would be starting from scratch, probably not in this area, because I figured Pam was still going to be having a dance studio and I didn't want to compete. I figured I'd be maybe more towards Fulton and Phoenix, where I grew up, opening something up. But it was a blessing that she knew what I wanted and was like, hey, you know, if you want to take my lease over, you know, give it a shot.
Yeah.
I thought that I may be getting more students to start than I did, just because she had a lot more, but I came in with a little bit more strict rules and it scared people away. So I think that was the hardest thing, like realizing that, okay, like I'm going to have to really work because
your vision of the studio was just slightly different than Pam's.
slightly different. And it took people a few years to realize, hey, she's doing this a little different and we either have to get on board or find somewhere else.
And do you think the first 2 years were like the hardest out of the whole scheme of things?
Depends. We've had a lot of bumps in the road.
Yeah, right. That was a loaded question because I know about the flood. I know about changing places. I know about all the obstacles you guys have to overcome.
So I think trying to create the environment I wanted the first couple of years is definitely the hardest.
How did you plan that? Because I talked to some business people where they're like, I don't know, we just bought cool fixtures and the color was right. And some people are like very calculated with how they grow the environment.
Yeah. So I was a senior in college when she told me, hey, in a year, do you want to do this? So I was literally in my townhouse at college constantly when I wasn't doing my work or whatever. I was designing a website. I was creating my forms, my class schedule, figuring out who I wanted to teach for me. So I took that whole year, my last year, and I was planning it out and what I wanted to do.
Interesting. And when you were like planning, how did you figure out like where to start? Because I think that's like that's a big apple to take a bite out of, right? Like where do you start on something like that?
So I looked around at other websites to kind of get the idea of like what I should include, the feel that I wanted. Like I looked around and I used people as inspiration, and then Pam was super awesome and gave me all of her forms and stuff and said, hey, if you want to use this to go off from, do what you want to do, tweak it how you need to. So like I had a baseline, which was super helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because if you did that starting fresh, you would not have had those resources. Right.
So I got super lucky.
Yeah. And what do you think, since you've taken over the past like 7 years, what's been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome?
Continuing to grow and like retaining dancers.
Yeah.
Because there comes a point where, especially the rec program, it's not always what they love to do, and they're at a certain age, they're trying all these sports and doing all this other stuff, so the commitment isn't always there. So we'll start out with dancers when they're like 3 to 5, and then we'll lose them as they decide, okay, dance isn't my favorite thing. Or, you know, sometimes they go to the comp team and then they stay until they're 18.
Right.
So the retention of dancers is definitely the hardest.
How do you try to entice them to, I mean, they're kids. It's hard to really like force them to want to stay dancing if they're not into it.
Right.
But is there like any tips or tricks?
For me, I think I want the rec program to always just be super fun and inviting. So like whenever they're there, they know they're having fun, so that hopefully they realize this is what I like and this is what I want to do.
Right. And it's just about making it fun and engaging for them to want to keep coming back. And when it's a rec program, like the classes are only throughout the school year, right? You guys take basically the summer off?
The summer is our slow time.
Yeah.
So that's hard. And like I offer summer classes. We have a rec program in the summer. It's a little bit smaller because we don't get as many students. So I try to keep like overhead costs down and not offer as much. But most of the time parents are like, well, we're on vacation. We don't want to do as much. We go places. So they take the summer off and then we hop back in. So the school year is our big
the
time.
dance year.
Right.
Because towards the end of the year is when you guys start going to all these competitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting that there's like a season for dance.
Yeah.
Like I always just assumed it was like just year round.
That would be nice for my pocket. But
yeah,
no.
right.
But we follow the school year.
When you're trying to get more people to the studio, what's the best way to draw more attention and get more people there?
Yeah. So I found advertising wise, Facebook is my best friend. I'm in all the mom groups and they're constantly looking for like things for kids during the day or summer programs. So our biggest hit is like our day camps during the summer. And it just gives the kids like a taste of dance, and then they get to do like a craft and activity and play outside. So it's not like dance in your face. Yeah, like all day. But then it keeps the kids busy, and it helps the parents who still have to work during the week, but now the kids are out of school.
Right.
So that's a big draw, is trying to do that.
So you do like a special event almost?
Yeah, so each week is themed. Different movies or like whatever kids are into that summer. We try to theme it off from. We have a Taylor Swift camp this summer.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, that one is like almost full already.
Really?
Yes, in 2 days.
Wow.
So,
is that one the highest? Like everybody's already signed up for that?
Everyone wants that one.
The most popular one?
Yeah.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. So you do like all these different themes. That kind of helps get new eyes on it. You use social media. Are you using like any paid ads or anything on social media?
I have never paid for an ad.
Really?
Yeah.
Never?
Never.
Really? Imagine if you started paying for ads.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's the hard part about running a business is there's so many hats that you're wearing.
So many.
Like not only are you wearing a teacher hat, but you're also wearing like a recruiting hat, right? Because you're trying to find new people to bring. And then you're also trying to wear a marketing hat to bring more eyes to the studio. Then sometimes you probably have a janitor hat on because you're cleaning the studio constantly. So how do you balance all of these different hats that you're wearing?
I am super lucky. The team around me that I have after 7 years is amazing. So like I would say the first 4 years I did everything on my own. Partially my fault because I am a perfectionist and I don't like people to like get in my way and touch what I'm doing. I want it done my way.
It was hard to delegate and let go of that stuff, right?
Yeah, very hard. But then I got pregnant and I just couldn't do as much as I could. So I'm lucky that my best friend took over like a managing office position for me, and she took a lot off my plate. She does a lot behind the scenes, lots of emails. She deals with people getting in payments in on time, posting fees to accounts. She does our apparel stuff. So it's taken a lot off my plate.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So at least being able to like delegate and have somebody that you can count on to do that stuff helps like
Has been
tremendously.
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And how did Nicole get involved? Which I know you guys were like best friends growing up.
Forever, yeah.
Was she a dancer too? I didn't even know.
Yep, we danced together.
Oh, wow. That's
So
cool.
we danced together, and then when I started it, she was just my biggest support and dove right in with anything I needed to help. And I said, hey, I'm going to pay you. Let's be my office staff for me.
Yeah,
so
right.
It worked out.
Right. Does she have like a structured day, or like 4 o'clock I'm doing payroll, 5 o'clock doing schedule? No, not at all.
No.
It's probably just like
and
chaos.
I do
trying
like
to catch
a lot
stuff.
of that stuff. We are constantly just bouncing back and forth. We're a good team, and we just do it all together.
Yeah.
And just having that sounding board to be like, this is my thought. Is it like, what can I tweak? Okay, this is good.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And she works another job full time, so she'll do it like at the evening time, because everything can be done remote. We have like a dance system software that we use.
Right.
And like parents create an online account, and they can log on, see their bill, see the classes they're taking, and all of that.
Okay. So at least it's like a portal essentially.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But you probably have to pay for that program, right?
I do.
Right. I can't
Yes.
imagine that something like that's free.
Yeah.
Is it also like a CRM? Have you ever used a CRM?
No.
Customer Relationship Manager. So it's basically like a giant database that holds like all client names, emails, addresses, all their
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And like the one I use for like real estate will just keep me top of mind for people. But in that business, it's just like in real estate, it's a matter of conversations turn into contracts. So it's just the matter of conversations you have. I would wonder if that would be beneficial for your business too, where you use a CRM to help stay top of mind. Maybe those old people, the old people who are no longer in your program, maybe they got family members or something
Right.
that would want to sign
So
up.
the system like holds on to everyone's information for us until we delete it. So it'll keep like active dancers on one section and then inactive. So we can always go back to the inactive and still like email them and be like, hey, we're doing this year. If you want to come back.
Nice.
Type
So
of thing.
it kind of is a CRM.
Yeah,
So
it's
it kind of works
like
that way.
all in one.
Because you have their information in case you want to reach out to them, and at least cause it's all about just like staying top of mind.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you-
how I contact everyone.
Is it always through like, but mostly email probably, right?
Oh God, yeah. So I have a system where we do a weekly email every Monday
Oh.
before the end of the night.
So you do a newsletter?
Yep, it's all our information for the month, and then what's upcoming, or if anything comes up for that week, it goes out every Monday.
Oh, okay. So at least every week you're hitting them with something.
That's what I love to try to do. I try to communicate.
Does it also hit the inactive dancers too?
I can if I wanted to.
Nice, nice. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Maybe you never know what it would lead to. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I just feel like you're so lucky in the sense that you found a good business partner, because that's hard for a lot of people.
Super hard.
I would love to work with my best friend Mike, but I don't know if our personalities would mesh working together.
Yeah, it's totally
So
different.
it's like you and Nicole are best friends and your personalities mesh really well
Right.
together. So like part of me wants to be like, how do you find somebody? But it's like, well, I've
got so lucky.
I've been best friends with Nicole since how long?
8th grade.
8th grade. So you guys
8th
been that
grade.
close forever now.
Yeah.
And you guys just got lucky, I
We
guess.
just got so lucky.
So much so that you guys work so well together. Now you have like a secondary
Another
company.
one, yeah.
What is the secondary company?
So we opened, this time it's a partnership, because for the dance studio, technically I'm her boss. But for our business, it's a partnership, and we opened up Glam Mamas Decorating.
So you decorate for like
So-
birthday parties and events and
Yeah,
stuff.
any event we will decorate for.
And what kind of decorating is it? Is it like balloons, backdrops, like?
Mainly, that's been our biggest thing. So balloon arches are like a big hit right now.
Oh, I wonder why.
I don't know.
It's
It's
just
like
kinda
a
the
new
in thing.
thing. And you can use them for photo like sessions, backdrops at parties. We can even make like these columns out of balloons or like different shapes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fun. So we do those, but then we have like party packages, birthday party packages. We're working on wedding packages because we did do a wedding in the fall.
Well, how was that?
Super awesome. So fun.
Was it intimidating?
Super
at
intimidating because it was our first like real event.
Big event.
Was a wedding.
Right.
So it was wild, but it was so much fun.
What led you into starting a second business venture?
So both of us tended to be the person in our families that people went to when they were like doing a party to help them out. And we were like, if everyone wants our help all the time, why not get paid for it?
Right.
And we just dove in.
Wow, I respect that. I feel like no one ever thinks of something
I was like, let's
that.
just do it. Why not?
And what like planning went involved into it?
We literally, no joke, on her day off, sat in her apartment one Friday and just registered for an LLC, started a website,
Whoa.
and went for it in one day.
In one day, you
One
just pulled the trigger?
Yeah.
You guys figure out the name, everything in one day?
Went for it.
Wow, no one ever would do that. No one would ever
We're a
do
little
that.
crazy.
Now, how do you balance the two jobs?
Constantly working.
Yeah, I feel right. Like you're probably never not working.
Right. And on top of it, I was working a third job for almost a year too. So that was wild.
Right.
But
right. Probably
got
hair
rid of
pulling.
that. Yeah. Set
Yeah.
that aside. Constantly like trying to make sure I have family time set aside is super important. And then only doing the work. Like if my kids are napping and my husband's at work, I try to like do as much as I can when I'm alone.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not taking away time from them. I would imagine even juggling family time is tough right now too, because
Oh my
most of the
God.
time that your husband works during the day.
Yep.
So when he gets home at night, it's like immediately you're swapping hands, going to the studio.
Yeah,
so it's probably hard.
I start usually at 2:30 p.m. at
Wow.
the studio.
Oh, when the kids
So-
get out of school.
So I'll take the girls with me to my first classes, and they hang out with me. And then Justin has to come pick them up when he's done with work. So then he gets them alone at nighttime while I'm working, and then I get home 9:30.
Man,
So we get like an hour a day.
wow.
Yeah.
How are the weekends? You should not be teaching on the weekends.
So I teach on Saturdays.
Why are you doing that? Why?
Business.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Yeah, I get Fridays off from teaching, but he's working, so then I generally try to work with Nicole on our business stuff on Fridays.
What was the name of the decorating?
Glam Mamas.
Glam Mama. So
Yep.
on Fridays, that's Glam Mama's day. Are you still teaching on Fridays?
No, so
Okay.
I made sure I take 2 days off from the studio, and it's Fridays and Sundays.
Okay.
And Sunday's supposed to be family time
Uh-huh.
as best that I can, but then like this season, it's competition season, so I
Right.
have like 3 weekends where
Yep.
that doesn't matter, and I'm
Yep.
gone all weekend.
Yep.
And then we've had some parties on a Sunday, so that takes away a couple hours.
Yeah, right.
But-
Wow, it's so tough to like balance all of that while still being a good mom and having a second business.
Yeah,
and-
mom guilt is definitely real.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But what you have done is you found a schedule that you're like committed to making it work.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works, you know, like
Right.
if it gets the job done. When you're like, how are you going to ever know you're at the point where you need to like grow? Like at what point for you are you going to realize that, oh my God, I need to hire another glam mom. I need to hire another dance teacher. I need to hire.
When more money comes in would be great, and then I
Yeah.
could hire someone and maybe step back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I also said that when I had kids that I would step back, but I can't seem to step back. So
Do you think you can step back? Is it really because money, or is it because, going back to what you said earlier, Lauren doesn't like to let go of control?
I think it is fairly both of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, I'm guilty.
Yeah. And like when I think about giving up classes to teach, I can't pick any because I would be afraid to let like the kids go. Like
Right.
you bond with them, you want to be with them, you want to
Right.
help them. So it's hard to step back.
Especially after, like in Brittany's case, like you've seen these kids from when they were tiny to now they're like seniors
Yeah.
in high school competing. So it's like it's really hard to be like, not going to see you anymore after working with you for 5 years.
It's awful.
So yeah, but it's like, you're almost getting to the point, Lauren, where the juggling of everything is going to be almost impossible.
I'll figure it out.
You figure it out. And the scaling is really interesting. When I talk to different people, is like, at what point do you realize like you're going to have to scale the business to grow? And you don't always have to scale. Like you could just be happy and content with where you're at.
Right.
Would you like to grow bigger? Would you like to step
100%.
away? Or would you like to grow bigger and still be as involved as you are now?
I definitely want to be bigger and be involved. We still have room to grow like class size in certain areas, so I can still take on more kids without expanding the schedule too much. Our biggest thing that takes up a lot of the schedule is like one-on-one lessons. So it just fluctuates each year, like who does how many of those and all of that. So the schedule is always changing each year.
Right.
So it's hard to even like analyze growth sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you could have more students, but they could also be taking less classes.
Right.
So it all depends.
But they still pay per class. So
I do like tiered pricing.
Oh, okay.
So like you start at, say it's like $60 for the half hour, and then it just goes up in increments as you add on half hours.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So it's almost like, I think of it as almost like a tally for like every half hour that they're signing up for, essentially.
Yep.
And when you start with them in the beginning of the year in fall, how does that look different than towards the end of the year in June?
So I make sure to put in our contract that you have up to the first 2 months to drop. But if you want to drop after that, you're still liable for tuition, because we took that spot away from someone else because we can only have a certain amount of kids in each class.
Right.
So you took that spot. We expected that money. So you do have to pay up through the whole year.
But you have 2 months to be like, oh, you know what? Never mind. It's not for me.
Because then we can sometimes we have a wait list, especially for the 6 and under kids. So then I can get in touch with that wait list and fill that spot if someone drops.
Right. And because competitions towards the end of the year, is the beginning of the year very much like trying to plan those dances? Do you have them done by Christmas time, or are they always evolving? Like, what's that look like for competition?
Yeah, so competition kids have to start in the summer, and they have to take the 8 weeks. So in summer, we start working on like new moves, technique, getting new tricks and things like that. So we take like half the summer, work on new stuff. Then we start dances in August. They have to be done around Christmas time. January is like kind of pushing it. And then we start performing in March.
Because you want it to be locked in by the time you get to competition.
Ready to go for stage, yeah.
How do you structure like a competition dance?
It's not too different than rec, but you do want it to showcase like the strengths of the dancers, where like in a rec dance, it's okay if they don't have it like perfectly and they're still learning and working on stuff. But for competition, we want it to showcase like what they can do well and put in like, for a group dance, they have to look good as like a unit in unison dancing. And then solos, it's more of like, what are you good at? Let's showcase that.
And with the rec and competition, it's still, let's take a 3-minute song. Let's get a dance together on it. Just with the rec kids, there's less pressure.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
And when you're building that competition dance, like how are you assessing, oh, we gotta add an aerial flip into this, or we gotta add this into it?
So that's interesting, because I am a big person that is it's more about your technique and less about the tricks. So I don't want to put in those tricks as much. Because I want to showcase your solid foundation as a dancer, because someone could just flip and do an aerial, but it doesn't mean they did it properly with like straight legs and pointed toes. So like I want you to have that foundation first before I just let you put that stuff into a dance.
So what would be the foundation of dance? Like what is...
Usually it's ballet, and people will argue that a lot depending on, say, if you're like a hip hop dancer, you might not need as much ballet. But if we're going and competing like jazz, lyrical, all those styles that you had mentioned, ballet is super important, because that gets your baseline strength, your turnout, how you support your moves, all comes from that.
All comes from ballet.
Yeah.
And how many ballet classes do you have there at the studio?
So I teach them all.
Dang.
And so like every level has their own ballet class.
Oh, okay.
And as you get older, the class is longer. So that you can work on more in that time frame.
Right. And have the strength to do it essentially.
Right. So
Right.
like our competitive dancers right now take 2 ballet classes a week.
Because you want them to have that good form and structure that comes from the ballet.
Right. Because if you have that, then you can go in any of the genres that you're taking and support the movement that they give you.
Interesting. And how is like competition scored and judged overall?
So each one is different based on the competition, but
Why is it so
generally
confusing?
it's ridiculous.
Just
Before
have
we
one set of
go,
rules.
I miss when it was like bronze, silver, gold, done.
Yeah.
Call it a day. But now they'll like name them like ruby, diamond, sapphire, or like all these crazy names.
I don't know the tier of ruby versus sapphire.
Yeah. So based on where I choose, I always have to look and like game plan.
Oh, so you
before
choose
we
the
go.
competitions that you guys go to.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So depending on location, the date, making sure it works with like the school calendar is how I kind of pick the competition.
Oh my God, you're juggling so many.
So I usually
schedules,
pick that in the
competitions.
summertime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's almost a full year, right? Because if you're picking in the
Everything is
summertime,
usually
it's
planned almost 6 months to a year ahead of time.
holy cow, damn.
Yeah.
Well, then I understand why you're like 2 months after that. Like you gotta still pay us because we're putting all this time and planning into this whole thing. Now, with the competition, can they dance in way more than one series and one set of style dance?
Yeah. So our girls generally do like at least 3 dances, but some of them do up to like 13, 15, depending on how many private lessons they have. It
Yeah.
all depends. They have to compete all their groups at the competitions, and then they can bring their private lessons to whatever ones they want or as many as they want.
And then not only is there competition where you're getting graded and judged, but then at the end of the year you have recital where everyone like puts on the dances that they've.
Yeah. So that brings together our rec kids and then
And
our
the
comp
competition kids together.
We all dance together as one studio
on recital.
on recital day.
And that is a whole nother thing.
And that is currently what I'm
you're
working
planning.
on.
Really? That's
Yeah.
what you're working on?
This month is just craziness. So we're gearing up recital program, getting the order ready, that ready to be printed out, recital t-shirts, because every dancer in the studio will do like a final dance together at the end of recital.
Oh.
So if they want, they get like a t-shirt to wear for that, and then we're all kind of coordinated. You have to figure out where you're going to have it. If you need to bring your own sound system, we have to this year. So we have to have sound system equipment.
Oh,
we have to
dang.
bring our flooring with us this time.
Wow.
So yeah, lots to think about.
There's so many moving parts to owning a dance studio. It blows me
Yes.
away because at a very surface level, I'm like, there's not that much that goes into it. No offense, but like at a surface level,
It
I'm
happens
very
all the
ignorant.
time. Yeah. Like, and I think that's a huge misconception is that people think I sit at home all day and then just go teach dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's so much background work that you have to do before you get to any of this stuff.
Right.
It's so funny is because there's so many like common threads between martial arts and dance in the sense it's like we have competition guys, we have rec guys that come and just want to throw hands at
do it.
mitts, and it's a different kind of mindset with them. But with martial arts, there's not a competition class, there's not a rec class. It's just like everybody shows up to the same
Okay,
the same class. And for me, it's always been like, not only do I have to like partake in class, learn what's going on, but also just trying to find more information externally that's not just in the school to bring
not
back
giving
to
it
the
to you.
students. And like it said earlier, social media has been like one of the biggest, but especially in the martial arts world, there's a lot of bullshito out there, you know, where it's
yeah.
like fake. So as a dance teacher, do you see a lot of bullshito dance stuff in the social media routines, and how do you figure out what's worth keeping and what's worth getting rid of?
So I think you definitely see a lot. And so I'm a part of a dance teacher network page where it's a bunch of dance teachers, studio owners that kind of are just all in this page, and people can post their ideas or thoughts. You can ask questions, get advice. So I've always treated it as like, I'm going to take that with caution and then go research that a little more. For instance, we've been trying to get flooring for the studio. We kind of go like one room at a time since we're in a new place. And everyone out there has a different idea of what's best for you, what company's the best
For the
to
flooring,
get it
right.
from. Like,
Right.
so, but then you got to dive in and realize what is really going to be best for your studio.
Right.
at
Which
the end
was
of the day.
when we were working together to find that new studio space. I was surprised that I was like, oh, you need like, because the wood floor was like springboard wood or
Yeah.
something. Like there's a special like hardwood floor,
Yeah.
right, to cushion or something.
You're supposed to have a sprung floor so that you have the cushion for impact of jumping and landing. It's just better for joints in the long run. It's not like you should definitely have this, but if you want longevity,
Right.
then it's best to have.
Why not just mat it from ceiling to ceiling?
So a mat is definitely fine for the cushion, but in order to do like turns and like other dance moves, it's not versatile enough.
Right. Because does the turns, does it like shift the mats or like what?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It definitely has to be something like down, stuck to the ground, and then even the texture of certain mats might not be smooth enough and things like that.
Right. Because we redid the floors at Taikai where we used to have mats that had the seams in between, but Ken found this basically this liner that you stretch from corner to corner that makes it then like one whole even piece.
Oh, okay.
And our mats never shift, but they're
Yeah.
literally from corner to corner in a room. And I know with the way that your rooms are set up, you have the door that opens up, so like you'd have to figure out
You
a
have to
way.
have that space in between
Right.
for jumping.
And I would
yeah.
imagine the tumbling that you teach, you would want mats versus like ballet. Probably dancing
Is
on a mat
different.
floor is not
Right.
beneficial.
So it really depends on the style.
Right.
So like Marley flooring is considered like the best floor for dancers. It's like a vinyl material. So we got a professional Marley floor for one of our rooms, our like big room that we use the most. It's $18,000.
Oh, God damn.
So it's not something I want to go throw in all 4 rooms.
Oh, yeah, right.
At all. So then I found like a vinyl flooring from Home Depot. So we were able to put that in a couple rooms. But for our tumbling room, I really want to find like a solid
like mats.
cushion.
Yeah.
And then we can, even if it's something that we roll the Marley on top of, so then it's still padded but then can be used for
Has
other
the cushion
styles.
so they don't hurt themselves. I feel like a martial arts mat would be
Yeah.
like the way to go for tumbling, but I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not the one that did the research on
Right.
that. I just remember the mats that had the seams in them. I got my pinky toe caught in the mat and it dislocated.
Yeah, no.
And ever since then, I was like, oh God, I don't know. I don't like grappling on the
No,
seamed
definitely
ones.
something just smooth across.
Right. And
is
that's
best.
because there's different style like that. The one that Ken has is like there's all these mats underneath, but the vinyl goes over it and then the seams are gone. Then there's another one where it's like wrestling mats where it's like cut rolled foam.
Right.
But then when the Velcro goes on, it makes it seamless. So it just basically covers the hole so no one's toe gets caught in there.
Yeah.
But all of those dance resource, like the dance teacher pages,
Yeah.
have helped you like really kind of refine the type of flooring that you
Yeah,
want.
I get ideas off from it. I mean, and they're from all over the world, so it depends. Like, their resources can be a little different based on location. A new thing that people are doing are pool noodle floors. So they'll buy plywood and then put pieces of the noodle under it to keep it sprung, and it has like the give
Interesting.
under it, and then they
I
lay
put
the Marley
flooring on top.
Yeah.
Whoa, interesting.
I've just been a little nervous because, like, if the noodles like smush, then like would your floor be uneven?
For sure. And you have large
like,
rooms, so it's
yeah.
not like it's not like let's just do a small room and see what happens. It'd be a large investment.
I want to know
Right.
like what's gonna be good because the rooms are big and I
Right.
just don't want to throw money out.
If you had infinite money and you could wave a wand,
I would have gotten that professional floor in
all the
every
floors
room.
done.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you would have focused on.
Yeah.
Well, I don't blame you because the flooring would be the Marley floor, especially when you're explaining it, it's like that springiness to
So
it.
we actually had to put it in. So it was shipped to us from Pennsylvania.
Whoa.
and then we had to put it in. So it's this pulley system.
Whoa.
With like this special ash wood that you lay on top of it, and the pulleys pull the squares in tight so they can't move, but then it leaves the air for give. And then we had to roll out, it takes 4 rolls of marley to fit the space. You have to cut them to length.
Whoa.
And then you tape them down.
And you said great ash wood, not great ass wood.
Right, ash.
And I did not ever think there would be that much that goes into just the flooring. But I guess the flooring is like the most important part, right? Other than the dancer, right? But the flooring can help the dancer keep safe. Is there, if you could like look towards the future, what would be some things that you would want to change going forward, maybe in the next year?
Dance-wise or like facility-wise?
Both. Let's do dance first.
Dance-wise, we're looking at trying to create a little bit more intense of a program for the competition girls. So a little more ballet, a little more conditioning on top of it. So we're building strength and stamina. So trying to figure out how we're going to fit that into our schedule. And then we're looking at restructuring our ages for our rec program and like how we're
brought
dancing.
That on?
So our level 1 this year, which is ages 6 to 9 currently right now, exploded. So the class filled up instantly, and we actually had to create 2 sections of the class, and I had to get another teacher to teach at like the same time.
Oh, wow.
So we could split them into rooms because they were just too large of classes.
Right.
So I want to restructure the ages to make sure that it's a lower dancer-teacher ratio for everything.
Right.
But
That you're probably very conscious of that when you're building those classes too, making sure you have a good student to teacher ratio.
ideally, you don't want more than 15 kids in a class, and even that is pretty large because you want to be able to give that one-on-one time with kids and make them feel like they're getting your attention and learning from it. And it also can be overwhelming for the teacher if there's more than that.
Right, because you have 15 screaming kids all over the place. Yeah.
So ideally, trying to like just, it'll probably add more levels to our program, which then takes up more room. It'll increase how many more teachers I need on certain nights. So playing with that structure. But that can be challenging because like all the teachers have their own set of availabilities that we have to work around.
Right. So it's like, if that doesn't work in the schedule, then it's like, then you have to bring on another dancer. How do you do that? That's a whole extra thing. So that would be more dance, but what would be like facility in the next coming year?
Facility-wise, we're working on touching up paint stuff. And then like the paint doesn't go all the way to the ground when we got the building. So we have to finish the painting in the rooms. And then working on finishing the last floor in the room.
Last floor. There's one more room. Yeah. How did you, because I think originally when we got you the space, you were going to do like fundraisers for the flooring.
Yeah.
Is that what you ended up doing?
We did a little bit, but it's really hard to get people involved in fundraising.
Yeah, it's tough. It's
It's
tough
a lot about, like, we have a fundraising committee, and their stuff will benefit the dancers specifically. Like, you put in the work, you get the money for your account, but people don't like to put in the work if it's not going to benefit them directly.
Right. But it benefits them indirectly because then they have a floor to dance on. Right. It's not like now you get the money in your pocket, but fundraising is always a tough subject.
Yes.
Always a tough subject.
Yeah, so
to figure out like how you can get enough funds for the last room. What kind of flooring are you going to do in the last room?
So I want to get something a little more padded underneath, and then we'll probably go with the marley that we got in the other 2 rooms to lay on top.
Oh, gotcha. So you put it right on top of the padding.
And then it just tapes down.
Oh, the marley floor just tapes down.
It's like a vinyl tape, so it's kind of stretchy.
Oh, okay.
So it like goes with it, and yeah, it just tapes right down.
Interesting.
Because then it's removable, and you can bring it places. Or if I have to change buildings again, take it with me.
Right. And what is one thing that dance has taught you throughout your whole life, not just being a teacher?
Honestly, I feel like dance can teach you a lot because You have to time manage when you have dance. Like, especially as me, I was a competitive dancer. I was at the studio 4 days a week. I did like 15 dances my senior year. So learning how to time manage at a young age was huge, like between school and dance and grades and all of that. So I think that's the biggest thing. And that's probably why I work so much.
Right. Because you were really good at like balancing all of that when you were a
doing
kid.
it all. Yeah.
And even like trying to remember 15 dances probably helps
Right.
that memory, huh? Like, how do you remember
Memory,
15 different dances?
Yeah.
I don't get it. When Brittany was telling me before that people were, kids are like in 12 different dances, I'm like, I can't even remember like what I said yesterday. How are you going to remember all those dances? There has to be a point where there's like lost the inability to retain the information, right?
Yeah, and I think it just depends on the dancer.
On the kid.
Some dancers can't do that much, and that's okay. Like, focus on your strengths, focus on the dance, and like be good at that. You don't have to do it all.
Right.
But some dancers just go for it and
Right.
they can handle it. I have a teacher now who remembers dances from when she was a kid.
Whoa.
I'm like, I choreographed the dance and it's out of my head, and I hope you remember it.
After the end of the year, you're like,
It's gone.
wiping the
Moving
slate
on.
clean,
Yeah.
and we're moving on.
Move on
But
to the next
she
one.
somehow has remembered it from when she was younger.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are just really good
Yeah.
with that stuff. When you look back at the time, what is one thing that you could have done different with the studio, you think?
I think from the start, I wish I would have been a little bit more strict on who I hired right away to support me, I think.
Was she there from the jump when you started?
I want to say it was like year 2 because she was doing grad school and stuff like that. She was always there, like in my life and supporting and all of that. I had a moment where I tried to hire a few people that I thought supported me, and then they backed out and wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And I've had to fire a couple people along the way.
Yeah. That's the hard part about being a business
and,
owner is like
yeah.
having to have those tough conversations with people, either letting them go. But, you know, the one conversation I've always regretted having whenever I was in retail management was the you smell conversation.
Oh my God, we have to have that with dancers. So,
Really?
yeah.
That's my hardest. Like, you want me to fire somebody, I will swallow the giant thing I have in my throat
Right.
and get it done. But when it comes to telling someone they're a little stinky, I have the hardest time trying to
awful.
approach that
You don't
conversation.
want to embarrass them.
Right.
Like,
So it's like, I've never been able to figure out how to craft that conversation really well without coming off like a complete asshole.
right.
It's so hard to find that balance.
Yeah.
But when you're a business owner, you don't get that luxury
No,
of
you
being
got to
like,
do it.
someone else can have my hard conversations
Yep.
for me, you know?
I have to do that. And I am not a person that loves confrontation. So I think that's been a big hurdle for me is figuring out those tough conversations.
How have you gotten over it? Because you have to do it. Like,
And
right?
I think that's it. At the end of the day, it's like either you're going to let this person continue to do things you don't agree with and ruin your business, or you got to step up and have that hard conversation.
Right. Now, that might be the worst part about being an instructor and an owner of a studio. What is the best part about being a studio owner?
Oh my God. Making my own decisions is a big plus. Like, I'm my own boss. What I do and what I say goes. And if you're choosing to be at my studio, you support that. And we're here to have a good time and learn. And I love it. And just working with the kids. I love kids.
It's only kids that there's no adult classes there, right?
No, we've tried, and it's so hit or miss. It's not something that we've been able to really make like a strong program for adult dancers for.
What do you think is hard about it?
I think adults don't like to commit to like a season, or even like we've tried drop-in classes and they'll come to a few, but it's just not consistent enough to keep it worthwhile.
Right. Didn't you have somebody that was doing like nightly classes or something? I feel like at the old studio.
So I had an instructor last year who got like a pretty good amount for adult classes. We made it like a dance and sip. So they brought in wine, had a good time and danced, and that turned out to be a hit. But unfortunately, her main job, she had more things
More
to do this year.
responsibilities
She
there.
had to like travel a lot more, and it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
it wasn't
It was
gonna
hard to
work
commit
out.
to.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
we lost
It's like
that.
the extra pressure of then having another class on top of it, and then if that teacher can't make it, now you have a whole. Then you have to get that coverage for that class, right? Because those people pay for the
Finding
class.
subs are so hard.
So it's like when you look towards the future, is how do you craft and build these students to want to come back and be an instructor for you, right? Because that would ultimately be
Yeah.
like the end goal,
Oh,
right?
I love it. Right now, this year, we were able to bring back one of our old students because she's out of college, she's home, and she's back. So we were able to put her on our staff this year, and it's been awesome.
Do you have a program at the studio to help them like learn how to become an instructor or how to coach in the future?
Yeah, so anyone interested is able to be like a teacher assistant for classes, mainly rec classes, and it's super helpful for us as teachers to have that second set of hands and eyes helping. And then when you're a senior, I allow you to have your own class to give it a shot.
Interesting.
So this year we have 2 girls teaching together,
Yeah.
a combo class.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What, a combo class meaning like combination of those two teachers working together, or they're teaching 2 different subjects together?
Yeah, so it's a ballet and tap class, and it's the little kids, so they do 2 different styles in
Rec.
class.
You would want them to do rec if they're learning how to teach and
Yes.
get their ropes in.
Yep.
It's funny because everybody's teaching style is so much different. What do you
Yeah.
think? What kind of teaching style do you think resonates the best with kids?
I think it's important to have boundaries from the start, like set your classroom rules, your expectations from the start.
No picking your nose.
Please don't do that. And then, but also like have fun. Like you don't have to be strict that whole half hour. It's okay to let loose and have fun and joke with them. And then, okay, there's a time to focus and let's dance at the same time. So having that balance, I think is good so that they can respect you, but also like enjoy your class.
That's a lot of teachers, especially. Again, I keep bringing up martial arts because that's the world I'm in. But like with the people who teach, and especially with the kids, it's either spectrum. Either they're like Mrs. Trenchbull, mean,
Right.
like so strict, or they're on the other spectrum. It takes like a lot of practice and refining to find that middle ground. And the only way I feel like you get that is by doing it and
100%,
doing it,
yeah.
you know?
I think at the beginning when I first started, I wasn't strict enough. And I think after the past couple years, I have my balance and I feel pretty confident in what I have. So like the girls already know what I expect, you know, especially that they've been here, some of them from the start. So they know like when they walk in the room, what to expect, what they should be doing, and where the class is going to go.
Right, right. Now, what is the best piece of advice you got throughout your entire dance career? Doesn't have to be like business related. It could be when you were dancing.
It was always just to like go out on stage and love what you're doing. Because if you feel like you left that stage regardless of what people thought of you and you felt good about what you did, then you did your best. Like it was always the feeling that you want to hold on to.
Right. Of wanting to be there and remembering. Of,
Yeah, like the passion that you have. And I took that, and we have some dancers who are always like anxious before they're going to dance, or they're so worried about being perfect. And at the end of the day, I tell them it is about the passion that you have for the craft that you're doing over the perfection. Because me watching a dancer who just loves what they're doing is more exciting and inspirational to watch than like they did that move so perfect.
Is it because it comes through in their dance organically?
Yeah, 100%. You just can feel it. And like you feel like you're up there with them.
Do you ever wish you can jump on stage and just crank out a...
Oh, I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely miss it. I got to perform in college, so that was great. So I
Yeah.
got to perform a lot longer.
Right.
But I miss it. There was a couple of recitals where I had to dive on stage, so...
I'm thinking like... I mean, spoiler alert, but like a surprise Miss Lauren dance at a
Yeah.
recital where you like bust out this crazy dance no one's ever seen, and you've just
Just
been...
randomly go on stage. Hold on, guys.
Yeah, right. It's like a secret surprise dance everybody's got to watch.
It's funny, too, because, like, there'll be times in class where I'll randomly have to do something, and the kids are like, you can do that? Yeah, guys, that's why I'm here to teach you.
Yeah.
I learned this stuff too. So it's really funny that they think I don't
always
do
say,
that.
I gotta show them that dad still got it.
Yeah.
So like when I'm like demonstrating a kick and when the pad like thuds and they're like, I love watching the look on everybody's face. They're like, oh shit. Cause I also I'm not doing Muay Thai too much. I'm mostly just teaching.
Yeah.
So I don't get a chance to like be in the mix with a lot of the students. And same with you, right? Like you're instructing the more.
So you don't get to do it as much.
So you don't get to do it as much,
yeah.
right? Now,
I like when we're at the beginning of the year because we're choreographing and we're teaching them more. So like I get to be physically more in it and like dancing again.
Yep.
But then the second half of the year when we're just cleaning stuff and they already have the moves,
then you don't get to do as much.
sitting and standing there more, and I'm like, oh, I miss moving.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now, last piece. Is there anything that you want to tell the girls? Because I'd imagine when this drops, I feel like the whole entire studio is going to be watching this.
Lord help me.
Which I did drop a couple swear words, so I am sorry. I probably should have kept it PG. But what would you want to tell all the girls and the kids at the studio?
I just love them. Like, I love their support, and I couldn't do what I love every year and keep it going without them supporting me. So without them signing up every year, enjoying the classes that I do for them, I couldn't do it.
Time is their most valuable resource, and they're deciding to spend not only that, but also money.
With me.
Right. So that it's always a nice reminder that how like appreciative and supportive of people are of you around, you know?
It keeps me going,
Yeah.
right? Like there's moments of burnout and like, can I keep doing this? Is the drama, is the hardship worth it? But then when I go back in the studio and just get to be with the kids, I'm like, yeah, this is why I do it.
The second you hear the first kid yell, Miss Lauren, you're like, don't care about
Music
any of that.
to my ears.
Yeah, right.
Or like, oh, like I had fun today, or you taught me this, or like they're excited to show me something. They went to practice. It's like the highlight of the day.
There's something about watching a student go from 0 to hero that gives you this satisfaction, this eternal satisfaction I cannot put into words. It's really cool to watch somebody progress better in whatever avenue they're doing, you know?
Right. And I don't even care if they're the best dancer or if they're not going to dance after high school. Like the fact that you learned anything from me or a life lesson, like that's what I'm here for. And I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm
you.
excited to share this one because finally I can get Brittany to stop telling me that I need to have you on the podcast.
I was a little nervous, but this is good.
See, it wasn't too bad. Like we've already just shy of an hour we did, right? So anything else you want to plug or anything?
I mean, our summer session starts in June.
How do they sign up?
They can email me directly at lauren.infinitydance@gmail.com or just stop in.
What we'll do is we'll put all of the website, any of the information, your email, we'll put it all in the show notes. So if anybody wants to reach out, you'll be in contact. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.